we are very excited to have very famous speakers from great companies. We're expecting to have in this virtual studio DCMN, Wooga, guys talking about investments relations from Sega, from Wings, from Square Enix Collective. We just can't wait to have them. And this is, as they say in Berlin, das ist fantastisch. So we are right now moving on to our first speakers. This is going to be a fireside chat hosted by guys from Wooga and DCMN. And we are having them in the studio, right? Hey guys, how are you?
Hi, Igor.
Hi, I'm great. Happy to be here.
Yeah,
Doing
we are
great,
happy
thanks.
to have you finally here. And first question, Eric, I know for sure that you are live from Berlin right now, not virtually, but physically, right?
I am also live in Berlin physically, yes.
Oh my God. I can't believe actually, like without traveling for such a long period, that other cities except St. Petersburg exist. Do they?
Yeah, I guess they should.
So it means we are not talking to the Matrix right now, right?
No, I hope not, unless there's a glitch.
Great. Valentine, how's it going for you? Where are you located?
I'm also located in Berlin, actually, so I can double confirm Berlin does still exist. It's still a place.
Perfect. That's lovely to hear that one of my favorite cities on earth still exists, and I really hope to visit very soon. So right now we are ready to move to your fireside chat. I'm yielding the stage for now, and good luck, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Igor. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this very cozy but safely distant chat. My name is Eric Vissers, and I'm a senior marketing manager at DCMN, the independent marketing agency based in Berlin. I'm joined by the lovely Valentine Ledour, the marketing lead for June's Journey at Wooga.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Valentine.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, so happy to have you.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, always.
Quick background story to those who are just chiming in. Wooga and DCMN have been working together since summer last year, and successfully so. But of course, Valentine will have to judge that. But before we go into the nuts and bolts of your growth marketing, how has Wooga handled COVID?
Oh, thanks for asking. Well, I think like for a lot of companies in the game space, it's provided a mix of challenges and opportunities both at once. So on the challenge side, I think like everyone in most of the digital companies, right, we had to adapt to working completely remotely. But that was pretty easy because we have a super collaborative culture at Wooga already. So it was a pretty smooth transition. It happened almost naturally. I think the greatest challenge was definitely that we had a lot of live action projects lined up, which was making 2020 such an exciting year. And so the problem is that we ended up having to handle the production for new TV creatives and community-based live action movie series completely remotely. So we had to find creative solutions to handle shooting, for instance, for the new TV commercials across 3 continents. So there was a lot of use of Zoom calls and a lot of creative problem solving. But I think at the end, those new constraints kind of helped us actually creatively. And on the opportunity side, as you know, like the TV seasonality completely turned upside down. So we had opportunities to try new markets way earlier than we had planned, like Australia, and to scale up our TV spend earlier also than planned. The lucky thing is that we were already working together. And so we already were lining up and preparing for a big scaling in summer when the CPM are usually more favorable for TV on those markets. And so we had kind of already like all of our everything in preparation. So we just had to speed up everything and get like some tracking and creative things, projects ready a bit earlier. And we were really able, luckily, to take advantage of those seasonality opportunities in time because we were already in touch and committed to scaling TV. And I think also like on the UA side of things, the UA team saw good opportunities in terms of CPIs as well. It synergized really, really well with our boost of spend on TV. It worked together. So at the end of the day, I think we really made it out of the pandemic phase in Europe. And we are part of the lucky few there, so I'm really grateful for this, way stronger. So Journey, which is the game that I'm marketing, and is currently the game that we are growing the most strongly, was already in a growth phase, but between January and May, we grew the DAU by 25%, which is pretty insane, at least for us, and even for a game that's on a growth slope. So definitely we are part of the lucky few at Wooga.
Man, you've been facing so many obstacles, but that's part of your Wooga DNA, which is being really creative and also solution oriented. So I see the logo in your shirt. Tell us more about Wooga. Who is Wooga, and how would you describe Wooga's game philosophy in a nutshell?
Yeah, sure. So who is Wooga? So Wooga is a game developer and a game publisher. We self-publish our own games. We are based in Berlin, and we are part of the larger Playtika organization. What makes Wooga unique and our identity and DNA is that we are focusing on creating super gripping story-driven games that really leave you on the edge of your seats. So no matter the gameplay, we really try to focus on telling great stories, and really provide people with an experience on their phone, on their tablet, that's like following their favorite telenovelas or TV shows, or reading their favorite book series. So we're kind of experts at cliffhangers.
Man, I'm a really big fan of stories, and I'm guessing most of the world as well. So you already mentioned some countries. Wooga is an international company. So that means you're marketing in currently other countries. Which are they?
Yeah, so we're both talking from Berlin today, but Wooga is actually super international. We have a single office in Berlin, but we have employees from all around the world. I don't know the number of nationalities, but we have people from all around. And we are publishing our games in 20 languages, if I'm correct. So currently, however, most of our players are found in North America, in Europe, and Japan, and the APAC region is a place that's starting to become really important for us, and that we are growing actively. So yeah, very international.
So there's a lot of growth and a lot of potential. So why have we, Wooga and DCMN, actually start working together? What challenges were you facing with your marketing strategy going into our partnership?
Yeah, so I think we approached DCMN, when was it, like in the beginning of last year? And at the time, we were trying to test new growth channels for Journey, because Journey was already successful. It was already on a nice growth path. And it was a success that was mainly powered by performance user acquisition, uh, which was which is a very common strategy in the mobile gaming space. It's safe to start growing with UA. That's what everyone does. You can track everything. If your ROI is not that great, you can slow down, you can adjust and fine tune and track everything. But we had a feeling that that was a game and a product that we could take like much further. And the specific thing about Journey is that we have an audience of women where the median age is 45 years old. So if there is one audience, as you know, who we can still reach with TV, it would be this one, right? Even though TV has not been in the past 10 years the favorite medium for mobile advertising, though it's starting to change quite fast. We thought that there was a really good fit there. And we thought that there was part of our target audience that would not be easily reachable through digital marketing only, because some of our part of our audience, they don't even know they would love Journey before, or they would love playing a mobile game before they start trying. So we thought there was an opportunity to really grow our niche there. So we reached out to DCMN, partly because we wanted to expand on TV, and also because we had this culture that was heavily relying on tracked performance marketing. And we're looking for kind of a gateway solution where we could work together on proof of concept tests and on tracking solutions for TV. So we could kind of dip our toes into it and start testing and seeing if our hypothesis was right. So that's how we got in touch.
Amazing. I mean, yes, you are right. People have been debunking, so to say, TV as an acquisition channel to build a brand, but also making sure that there's the the bottle of user acquisition is filled up properly. So having already pointed out some major factors that made you want to work with DCMN, what qualities do you look for in the right marketing partner?
Yeah, so I think in terms of qualities, so I touched a little bit on the fact that we had like a very heavy tracking culture. So the first thing would be seriousness and reliability in tracking solutions and being able to work with our data science and business intelligence teams in being able to track the performance of the campaigns. So that was one of the most important criteria. And I think a second thing that we always look, or that I personally always look in the business partners, is this idea that I'm talking to people who are willing to work in our best interest. And I know it sounds very trivial, but sometimes depending on the position of the company, you do not always get the sense of the establishment of trust that makes you feel like you are working together on a long-term collaboration and that it's not just a collaboration for a quick gain. So I think once we were able to establish this kind of trust relationship, things became way easier because you are working together as business partners. So yeah, that was like the two things, performance tracking and making sure that this was a long-term collaboration.
Definitely. We put lots of emphasis on actually building trust and making sure that when we grow together. So making sure that we track, but also making confident decisions moving forward actually builds that trust foundation. So it does get easier now with DCMN. I mean, we've also helped you produce the spot.
Yeah, our very first TV commercial. It feels like it was a long time ago, but it was just last year actually. Yeah, because we were like going for this test, and it was a pretty relatively small test for TV on the Canadian market, and so we needed a creative, and we went for a pretty simple. Something that looked a lot like our UA creatives, but which we actually produce thousands and thousands of every year, right? Because that's the nature of UA. You need to keep on feeding new creatives to keep the campaigns fresh. But on TV, there were some specifics in terms of how to optimize the back shot and the call to action and how to make it work. How to record a voiceover for a TV commercial, right? That's not something we were doing at all, surprisingly, at Wooga. So I think, yeah, that was that was a learning experience working with you on this, really. But I think it was worth it.
We both learned on both sides, so it's all good in this case. And given the markets that you've already mentioned and that you're currently in, were there any unique factors you need to consider when choosing a partner or deciding on how you would market the brands?
Well, that's a pretty wide question, right? It's like how do you do your job? How do you make decisions? But to maybe narrow it, so on deciding on which market we would go for TV, I think it was a matter of considering the market conditions, so the CPMs, the install rates, and the general landscape in terms of what sorts of channels were there, where could we fly over, in perspective of our own product KPIs, right? Because if you have a really, really good CPM in a specific geo, but also the user quality isn't there for your game specifically, then it's not going to connect. So that was one thing, obviously, like ROI forecasts, ROAS forecasts, and what sort of pricing in regards of our own KPIs we could find. And then it was about finding people who had established local professionals. So we were looking specifically as our two main markets at the beginning at North America, obviously, which is super important for us, and the DACH market, so Germany, Switzerland, Austria. And so you guys, obviously being a Berlin-based company, you had like a good foot on the DACH market, and you also have like a satellite agency in the US. So yeah, I think that's what facilitated the choice there.
Awesome. That's really great. I mean, in this case, we would like to go in the direction where most of the people are probably really interested in. And this is like, what surprised you most about as you expanded your marketing efforts? What surprised you most?
Yeah, I think one thing that was surprising is that we were hoping with some synergies with UA. but we're just hoping. And we actually found some. So that was pretty nice to see. Like it was all very temporary impacts. So you see the effects while you're flying the TV campaign and maybe a couple of weeks tops after. For instance, we saw a correlation with lower CPIs in the geos where we were flying TV, especially in the US when we started scaling the budget. It only works at scale. It didn't work for a smaller test campaign. And when I say scale, I can't give exact number, but by scale, I mean going into the 6 digits, right? So yeah, after a minimum threshold, we saw lower CPIs during the TV campaign on those markets. That being said, I would be careful about establishing a direct causation there, because at the level of spend and given the number of factors also happening during the period of a TV campaign, right? It can be like several months. And especially because like most of our flights happened during COVID this year, I can't say that it's the only factor that was playing. It could be something that was playing both on TV and UA, but even for our previous campaigns, last year, we saw an impact on CPI or correlation with lower CPI, let's say. Something else we saw that was way clearer as an impact on store ranking that lasts only during, like, it doesn't last longer than the flights, but it's really nice to see. So we really climbed the store ranking like super high during the TV campaigns, because you're sending way more impressions to your store pages and you're getting way more installs. So that really influences on your Play Store and Google Play Store and App Store rankings. That's interesting because for the geos where we were near to the top 10 and we are able to break into that top 10, top 5 and kind of get into the first impression page for the search results or for the browse results on those stores, there we saw a huge increase in organic traffic from browse on the stores while we were able to stay on the high rank. So I'd say if you're looking for a way to establish which geos to go for a TV campaign, I would not make it the main factor, obviously, but as a nice bonus, if you have a geo where you are nearing the top 10 of the store, that could be your way to get into it. Obviously, if you are at, I don't know, rank 200 and your TV campaign brings you to rank 100, it doesn't change anything. You're not much more visible there. So yeah, we saw this. And the last thing that's more anecdotal is that our Apple search ads obviously started seeing super amazing ROIs because it's capturing a part of the TV traffic on our brand keywords, which actually reactivated some interesting conversations about whether we should be bidding on our brand keywords or not within the UA team. And yeah, so you were asking like what was the most surprising, right? I think like a last thing that was more fun yeah, exciting to see was the community reaction. So we have a super engaged community on June Journey, and especially on Facebook. We have big Facebook groups. And we started seeing when we started flying in North America that the players were taking screenshots or photos of the ads on TV and sharing them in the groups and being so proud and excited, and they were like, it was their game, you know, their little gem that only them knew, them and their friends. It was on TV, it was becoming big, and so I think they were as excited as we were to start growing the game. So that was a really nice bonus.
Excellent. I mean, you see that when you build a proud fan base culture of brand ambassadors and warriors, it's that extra icing on the cake for all your activities that you've done so far.
Oh, for sure. And I think for us, it's more than the icing on the cake. It's really part of the company value and culture at Wooga. One of our company values is being close to our players. It's something that's like, actually, to be very honest, surprised me. I used to work before working at Wooga on more mid-core to hardcore games. So I worked on shooters, I worked on MMOs, and I thought there, like I had seen like the you know, being myself an MMO player, I thought this was the most mega fans you could find ever in the game landscape, right? But when I started working on June Journey, oh boy, I was wrong. Like, so our audience of older women on June Journey are definitely the most engaged fans I've ever seen. We have a fan that has like a wall of fame with pictures of our community managers in her house. We have another one who jumped all dressed in a lake during a community event where the temperature was rising. That was the concept. and filmed herself and posted that all over the socials. So yeah, we have like, I know everyone's saying that, but really we have the best players and the most engaged ones. And it's yeah, it definitely changed my perspective on casual players. I think there can be very hardcore casual players, if that makes sense.
If you can get people all enthusiastic about your brand, then you of course win that kind of emotional connection. So there's lots of successes that you've already listed out. What particular metric would you like to share, or would you like to note or highlight even during our collaboration?
Well, it was like, that's why we're having a talk right today. Like, it was a very successful collaboration. And I think something I'd like to say is that, so we ran a first test in Canada. It was pretty small. And we saw ROIs like above the 150%. So we are like, yeah, amazing. And so we were all excited to scale, but that's always the problem, right? In marketing, is that when you do a test, it works well, and then you start scaling, and there is no guarantee that it's going to work at scale ever. But we're still believing in it because it made a lot of sense. But we are anxious to see if it would work, obviously. And so when we started scaling this year in North America, we kept on seeing those numbers like above 160% ROI, which has been amazing. And we're super proud of what we've achieved together.
160%. I mean, sky's the limit. So what's next for Wooga?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I think there is a super busy and exciting future ahead for Wooga. At least I want to believe it. I mean, Jinjan is still growing, and there's so much more I want to do, and my team wants to do, and everyone at Wooga wants to do to make it reach the heights it deserves, in my opinion, because it's a really great game with a really great team that makes it super enjoyable and sticky for the users. So ways to grow. So we have our eyes on new geos. We've been fairly US focused so far, and I think being so reliant on a single market is not necessarily wise on the long term, right? We want to be able to kind of have a more balanced portfolio of users, so to speak. So I think there is way more we can do in the dark market, in APAC. So we are really working on this right now. We're also working on diversifying more above the line channels, because going outside of UA and making above the line marketing work together with UA has been working for us for Dream Journey. So we are looking into radio, into podcasts, into out of home and display and everything. And yeah, I think the general philosophy is to keep on like working on this healthy mix of performance-driven test and performance-driven baseline of investments in marketing, and more like content or brand growth-driven projects. I think that's super important. So an example is that every year for our anniversary of Dream Journey, which is in October, we work on kind of a project that's kind of a creative/brand growth laboratory. So this year, so last year, for instance, we had Dream Journey Hidden Talents. It's a hidden object game, so it was kind of a pun, which was like a talent contest for a month where users sent us videos of them doing cool stuff. And then we selected 5 winners, and we flew them to Berlin and pampered them for a week, and shot recorded the entire experience and made like a reality TV series out of it. It was so fun and so rewarding. And so this year we are doing something different, but because of a global pandemic, we are not going to do anything live. But yeah, we're working on something that I hope will blur the lines between game development and marketing, involving everyone in the company. It will be a virtual escape room, and there will be something related to a very epic, legendary 1920s train ride through Europe. So yeah, we'll be taking people for rides as we do with our super cool stories. Yeah, and what's next for Wooga? Obviously, like we have teams working on new games, and those games are so cool. I can't wait for people to experience them and to see the public's reaction, really.
Man, there's so much happening at Wooga, but escape games, I love escape games. So sign me up. If there's I'll email you, and then we can organize a escape game for me. As a closer,
Sure.
What's that one piece of marketing advice you wish you'd had when you first started? So this is for all the marketers out there.
Wow.
No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, it may sound a bit cliche, but I think it's important to somewhat, with reason and with data-driven insights, follow your intuition, and follow up on projects that make sense when it comes to the way your audience is engaging to your product, even if they do not have the most easily or trackable and measurable returns. Because I think there is a tendency, and it's in the industry, and it's kind of easy to play it too safe. It makes sense when you're a startup or you have a limited amount of investments to first focus on trackable returns, right? You're not going to launch your game just with a TV campaign if you're a small company. But once you see that your product has potential, it's easy to keep on playing it too safe. And that's a mistake we could have made definitely with Journey. But like I believe like for a good marketing strategy, you need a share of calculated risk. And you need to invest that share of risk in projects that make sense and that are rooted in, again, like the knowledge of your audience. So for us, we are very, very focused on audience knowledge, and we try to make it both data driven. So for instance, well, we do a demographics research, etc., like everyone, but we also led a project of motivational surveying where we led some behavioral psychology insights and try to understand and survey our players to know like what made them tick. So we got like more than 100K answers. Again, super engaged audience on Journey, so it makes this kind of project easy. And that really helped us like creating personas based on the motivations of our players to play games and Journey. And that really helps in all the rest of your marketing and publishing projects after that, and even for our live ops, etc. So there is this data research side of things, and I think it's also important to add like the direct knowledge of your audience. I mean, I was telling you about these hidden talent projects where we actually got to meet the fans in person, and that was so fulfilling but also insightful. So I think this kind of approach allows us to gain like both a very personal and data-driven perspective on our players. So I think I've been a bit long, but to summarize, invest in projects that make sense, even if you can't track everything of them. Though try your best to track what you can, but it's not because it's not trackable that it's not valuable. And get to know your audience and like really get to know your audience, like put yourself into it, meet the people face to face if you can.
So basically also combining the calculated risk and not only base it on gut feeling. So
no, for sure, no. I'm not saying like, oh, be whimsical and like do what comes to your mind without any thought, right? No.
Wow. Thank you, Valentine, for sharing your valuable insights on June's journey. I hope our viewers will agree. I mean, if they don't, then we have an issue. But no, just kidding. Ledour, we will now open the round for some burning questions from our audience. Do we have any questions?
Thank you very much, guys. This was a very comprehensive guide and like some very valuable insights on how to do marketing, what to expect and what to do. Yeah, probably we have time for like 1 or 2 questions. And before we wait for some real ones, we have so many comments saying thank you, Valentine, and thank you, Eric, for diving into the topic and like highlighting things. So the first question is, Valentine, you've mentioned that you are doing TV ads, right, for your Wooga games. So do you mostly work with like Germany audience for TV commercials, or like international, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, so for TV campaigns, we first started with the test in Canada, because the audience that made the most sense for us to test was the US, actually. But we didn't want, in order for a TV campaign to work in the US market, you need a significant minimum investment. You can't go in the US with a small investment. It doesn't work. You won't be able to track the results at all. It's too big. So we thought, what's the best way to test the US without going to the US? So no disrespect to our Canadian friends, but yeah, we went to Canada. So we did this. Then when Canada worked, we scaled in the US. So now we are running in Canada and US. Then the COVID pandemic happened, and we got really good prices for April, March for Australia. So normally Australia, you can only run cheap TV campaigns, CPM wise, in winter for us, because it's the summer for them. So we were waiting for January for the next year, and so we were able to test Australia way earlier, which was pretty cool. So we are in North America, Australia, and right now, since the beginning of June, we are doing TV campaigns in Germany. So in Germany, Australia, and Switzerland, because we had TV commercials in German, so might as well try the other neighboring countries.
Thank you. That's very interesting and very good to know. So we do not have any more questions for this very moment from the audience, but guys who are watching us live or will watch this as recording, please feel free to direct your questions, comments to Eric and Valentine on WN Hub platform, or to the guys' emails or to their offices. I'm more than sure that they will be happy to chat with you and maybe highlight some new things. And just feel free to ask DCMN how to do great things, right, Eric?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So thank you very much for having us.
Thanks very much for coming, and goodbye.